Hi, my name is Andre and welcome at Your Guitar Workshop. In today's video, we are going to be looking at intervals. This lesson is inspired by a question that I got from one of my patrons mentioning that you talk about intervals in some of your videos, but you've never actually explained how that works and what they are. If you have some knowledge of note naming or semitones, whole tones, whatnot, that would be very handy. Otherwise, this lesson might be a little bit too complicated. So how does it work? So to start, let's go with the C major scale. The C major scale is just a C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. The C is the first note, D second, then we got E third, F fourth, G fifth, A sixth, then we got the seventh, and then we got the first again. Very basic. Okay. Now, an interval is basically the distance between two tones, right? And an interval can be played melodically, so after each other, or harmonically at the same time. So the first interval would be C to C. The second interval would be, so let's do this here. So C to C would be C to D. Then we get C to E, C to F, C to G, C to A, C to B, and C to high C. Let's turn this one into 8. The funny thing is that the naming of intervals is really, really simple, because from C to C is a unison. Then from C to D, D being the second note, is a second. From C to E, E being the third note, is a third, that interval. From C to F, F being the fourth note in the scale, is a fourth. From C to G is a fifth, from C to A is a sixth, from C to B is a seventh, and from C to C is an octave. Now, not all seconds, thirds, fourths, and fifths, etc., are created equal. So let's make a distinction between all those intervals, right? So first of all, this is a unison. So this is a second, this is third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and octave. All right. Please don't mind my writing. I have a nice PDF for my patrons, which is already online. All right, so how does it work? There are two different types of intervals. Intervals that can be either minor or major, and you got intervals that can be diminished, perfect, and augmented. So let's identify those two groups. So these and these are the perfect intervals. If you raise a perfect interval, it becomes augmented. If you lower it, it'll become diminished. So in the C major scale, these intervals, the first, right, so the unison, the fourth, and the fifth are all perfect, as is the octave. All the other intervals are either minor or major. Now, in the C major scale, you could remember it by major scale. All those intervals are major. So it's a major second, a major third, a major sixth, and a major seventh. So these are all major. Right? That's for the C major scale. So we got perfect unison, major second, major third, then perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and the octave, right? So now we got that. Let's look at the following things. So we had the major second, right? So we had C to D, which was a major second. So from C to D is a whole step, right? So that's a whole step. From C to E is a major third, and that is 2 whole steps, right? Then we have C to A, which is a major 6th, and then we got C to B, which is major 7th. All right. The only thing that we have to do to get the minor version of it is to lower these intervals by a semitone. So C to D flat, right? So we get C to D flat. Then we get C to E flat, C to A flat, and C to B flat. So these are minors, and these are majors, right? So now I understand that this is a lot to take in, but let's look at this from a timeline perspective, because usually that makes things a little bit easier. But anyway, so if you know the major interval, right, so the major second or the major third or whatever, then it's really simple to discover what the minor is because it's just a semitone below. All right, so let's put this into what I like to call an intervallic timeline. And hopefully this thing is big enough. So we get this here. All right, let's try to do this nicely. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right. So if this is C, right, or any note, or let's just call this our root, or our 1. Then up a whole tone is our major second. Then up another whole tone was our major third, right, because that was 2 whole tones. From the major third to the 4th is a semitone. That is P4. Then it's a whole tone up to P5. And then a whole tone up to major 6. All right, so those are the first 6 intervals. If we go down, it's a semitone below the major 7th and the root. And it's a whole tone between the major 6th and the major 7th. And here we got our perfect 5th and P4. All right. So from the root, it's a whole tone up to major 2nd, a whole tone up to the major 3rd, semitone to P4, perfect 4th, whole tone up to the perfect 5th, and a whole tone up to the major 6th. And that makes sense because remember, we got C, D, E, F, G, A, or C, B, A, G, F, right? And remember, these were whole tones, these were semitones, whole tone, whole tone. And here you got semitone, whole tone, whole tone, whole tone. If you get this in your brain, how that works on the guitar, then you've made a huge, huge step. So if I'm playing any note, a major second up from that note is going to be a whole tone up. A major third is going to be 2 tones up from that one, right? So this is a third, major third. If I want the minor variation, then this would be a half step down. So this is a minor third, right? Now, let me explain to you why this is so handy to know. So for instance, a lot of people talk about the Cage system. If you know which notes make up the chords in the Cage system and you know where they are, then you can very easily manipulate those Cage chords and turn them into different chords. Now, this is something that I'm going to do in an upcoming lesson, but it's like a great way to learn a lot of different chords, but just think them from one basic form. And I mean, some people don't really like the cage system because they feel caged in. Some people don't like the box shapes of the pentatonic scales. For me personally, these things are just tools. So I don't do everything with the cage system, but it's a way of looking at things, and you do discover a lot of great stuff. The same with the box shapes. They're in your brain, they're really easy to manage, and that's why so many people have used them and still use them. So I'm not saying that it's like the be-all, end-all of things, but it does help a lot. All right, so I hope this cleared up some things about the intervals. If you have any questions or comments or remarks or tips or tricks, then please put them in the comments below. I'll have an overview of this lesson on my Patreon page. And that's it for today. Hope to see you again sometime.